All right, I want to finish off Parsha's Beshalach, and we're going to go for a ride. Go for a nice long ride now. And it's actually a tapestry. What's the rule with tapestries, Miguel? Tapestries. Yeah, can't ask no kashas on tapestries. Can't ask no kashas. Right? I told you. Either you see it, appreciate it, or you don't. It's a painting. Either you understand, either you see it, or you don't. As I told you, it's a classical music. You'll have to, they can teach you how to appreciate it, huh? I'm still on finger painting, yeah. Okay, so take a look at page 390. Page 390. So it starts with Amalek, the entrance of Amalek. We're just finishing up Parsha's Beshalach today. We may get to Yisro today, we may not. We'll start tomorrow. But this is not just a Beshalach concept. This is a very, very general Torah concept. And so it's a fascinating concept. First of all, the Jewish people, they get to a place called Rephidim and they don't have water. So they're spooked because they don't have water. All right, you can't blame them. You know, you look at the Torah, it looks like they're always complaining, right? It looks like the Jews are always just every 5 minutes they're complaining. It comes out that they only complain 10 times in 40 years. It's not bad. One complaint every 4 years isn't bad. On average, one complaint in 4 years is not bad, right? It's just that the Torah, the complaints are compressed into the first 2 years and into the 40th year. But for 38 years, they didn't say boo. So we just have to understand, keep it in a proper perspective. Your average shul rabbi would be thrilled to have a congregation that only complains 10 times in 40 years, right? So the first thing here is they start complaining. You took us out, and we're thirsty, and that's okay. They're thirsty. They're in a desert, and they go on 3 days without water. You know, you can. Let's put it in proper perspective. They're not just kvetching. Help yourself to a chumash. Please take chumash right on the shelf over there. They're not just kvetching for kvetching's sake. They're thirsty. You know, when you get thirsty, you kvetch. Okay. So then Moshe Rabbeinu names it, and then Hashem says, take the stick, and what do you call it? And the water came out, and the people drank. This is the first time when he hit the rock. He was told to hit the rock, and he hit the rock. And then 4 lines from the bottom on page 390, it says, Vayikra Shema Moko Masu Meriva. He names it quarrel and contention. Al-Riv b'nei Israel, because of their quarreling, v'al-nasosem es Hashem, they tested God, lemor, hayesh Hashem b'kirbeinu imayin, is God in our midst or not? Now, that is a strong claim against the Jewish people. You've just seen 10 miracles in Egypt. You've just seen the splitting of the sea, page 390. You've just seen the manna come down from heaven. You just seen water come out of a rock. And after all that, after what you've seen, you're saying to yourself, is Hashem in our midst or not? So what's the very next line? Vayavo Amalek. Amalek shows up. All right, what's going on? Amalek attacks. What's one thing got to do with the other? The answer is, Amalek's got an agenda. What's their agenda? The Jewish people are hot. They're on a winning streak. When a team gets hot, they're hot. And when a team gets hot, or somebody's hot, now there are 2 ways to understand that. They're either hot because there's obviously divine intervention in the world and God has been pulling the strings for them, or they're hot because they've gotten lucky. It just happens to be a coincidence. The longest winning streak in professional sports is what? And if you guys don't know this, I'm getting up and I'm walking out because then you're useless. This is important knowledge that you should have, right? The longest winning streak in professional sports is 33 games by the 71-72 Lakers, with Wilt Chamberlain, Jerry West, Happy Hairston, Jim McMillan, and Gail Goodrich as a starting team. But that's okay. That much you don't have to know. But that's the win. That's in American professional sports, which is the only professional sports. That's the longest winning streak. Now, Did the Lakers get lucky? Well, they got lucky. Or was it skill? Now, if you saw the team, you wouldn't think was it lucky or was it skill? So you got to be a fool. Yeah, they just got lucky 33 times in a row. And, sometimes you get like Mike Tyson got lucky. No, Mike Tyson didn't get lucky. Mike Tyson was hitting people with a sledgehammer. He wasn't getting lucky. He wasn't getting lucky. Now, what happens is, let's take Mike Tyson's a better example. Every guy gets into the ring with Mike Tyson, ended up in an iron lung. They had to scrape him off the canvas. Okay, now. Let's say he's beaten 10 guys in a row. Now the 11th guy comes in, or he's beaten 11 guys in a row. Some guy comes in and everybody says he's getting lucky. It's a coincidence. And I says, it's not a coincidence. I'm not going near the guy. And then one guy says, I'll fight him. So what happens is he gets in the ring with him, gets beaten, but what happens is he has put a chink in the armor. He's cracked through that aura of invincibility. The Jewish people have what's called hashgacha pratis. They've got divine intervention. You've seen the miracles. What, that was lucky? That was a coincidence? Comes along Amalek and says, come on. Don't hack me a chinik. It could happen. They got lucky. Frogs, blood, frogs, all the plagues of splitting in the sea while the wind was blowing. You got all the explanations. And everybody else is afraid. So the Medrash compares the Jewish people to a boiling hot bath. Everybody's afraid to jump into the bath, a boiling hot cauldron. Everybody's afraid to jump in. They're hot. They're on a streak. They're hot. And Amalek says, I'm not afraid. They jump in. They get burnt. But what happens when you get burnt? You cool off the water. That means the guy who gets in the ring with Mike Tyson and he gets a couple of shots in. So again, they cart him out on a stretcher. But at the end of the day, he's broken through that aura of invincibility. Amalek taints the Jewish people. I don't know if you've ever been, I remember before I was married, so there's a mikveh in the middle of Mea Sharm over here by Zupnik. And right in Kikar Shabbos, there's a mikveh. So I remember I wasn't married yet. I go into this mikveh. This is a mikveh that was around in the time of, this mikveh was around at the time of the Rambam probably. So I walk in there and they got a couple of pits over there. There's hot, hotter, and hottest, right? Each one is hotter than the next. So I remember, I go into one of them. Okay, I can handle. I guess I go. Then there's the one that's the really, really smoking. There's one that just absolutely. So I put my feet in, and I'm trying to get in there. This is hot. I mean, this really is painful. And I'm standing there, and this old guy, this old Hasidic guy. Looks like he's about 114, and he just walks right past me, down the stairs into the mikveh, and you just see the guy, the water boil, and he's standing there in this boiling hot water, and he yells in Yiddish at the mikveh attendant, the guy who's in charge. He goes, "Feivel, why isn't the water hot this week?" Then the guy comes out. He's red like a tomato. I couldn't get in past it's a mistake, by the way. I did it a couple of times. You just got to go all the way. And if you go it slowly, if you go in, you'll never make it. If you do it again, you won't get adjusted to the hot. You just got to go for it. And then say Kriya Shema, your final words before you go in there. You come out. I'm telling you, you come out. You're fit to be eaten, right? You're just cooked. Right? You're fully cooked. This guy, I just remember him yelling. He's standing there in the mikveh. Why isn't it hot there? So they're boiling hot. They're hot. They're on a streak. So what happens? Amalek goes in. Amalek jumps into Amalek fights them, and they lose this battle. But they've broken that aura. Nobody in the world is willing to touch them. Nobody's willing to go near them. Everybody sees that's Amalek's goal. Amalek's goal is this idea that there's a God who's running the world. Amalek has an objection to that. Why is that? Because if there's a God running in the world, that means we got to behave ourselves. And Amalek cannot tolerate that concept, that thought that there's actually God with demands. And therefore they attack Jewish people. Let's stop this nonsense about divine supervision and miracles and what do you call it? It's all a coincidence. It's chance. Okay. The numerical value of Amalek, everybody knows, Ayin is 70, Mem is 40, is 110, Lamed is 30, is 140, and a Kuf is 100, is 240, which is the same numerical value as Safek, which is doubt. That's the whole goal of Amalek, is to throw a doubt into what we're certain about. We are sure there's a God. They say, come on, what are you talking about? Why does it happen right now? So you guys, the proverbial, didn't your fathers ever say to you, you want to cry? I'll give you something to cry about. Didn't you ever hear that music from your father? You want to kvetch? I'll give you something. You want to whine? I'll give you something to whine about. That's one of the standard lines they teach you in father school, right? You want to cry? I'll give you something. You want to kvetch? I'll give you something to kvetch about. Look at the Klal Yisrael. Look at the last line right before that. They said, Hayesh Hashem b'kirbeinu. Is Hashem in our midst or not? So Hashem says, oh, you have a doubt. You have a suffix? I'll give you some suffix. Vayavo Amalek. Amalek attacks. You have a doubt? I'll show you what a doubt is. Yeah, here comes Amalek. Now, so what happens? So Moshe Rabbeinu says to the Jewish people, he says, Yeshua, you're going to go down and fight Amalek. And in the meantime, on page 392, he says, you go down, I'm going to be up on the mountain. And then what happens? The second line from the top. Vayas Yoshua kasher amar lo Moshe loche ba'amalek. Yeshua does what Moshe tells him, to battle Amalek. Moshe, Aaron, v'chur olu rosh hagiva. Moshe, Aaron, and Chur go up to the top of the mountain. Now, if you're following the story here, your reaction is, Moshe? Yeah, I know him. Aaron? Oh, right. Chur? Who? Who? Who's Chur? Moshe and Aaron, we've been, for 4 Parshas already, it's been all about Moshe and Aaron. All of a sudden, Chur. So Rashi is good enough to tell us who's Chur. Take a look at Rashi. Which pasuk is that? Pasuk Yud Aleph. Where is it? Chur. It's on the right column, about a little past halfway down the right column. Says Rashi, Chur bina shel Miriam haya. He's the son of Miriam. V'kalev baila. Kalev was her husband. Chur is the son of Miriam. Okay, so we can play some Jewish geography now. Hi, where are you from? I'm from Mitzrayim. Where are you from? Oh, I'm from Sinai. Yeah, do you know Chur? Yeah, I know Kalev. Oh, really? Which one? Goldstein. No, I know that. Yeah, a little Jewish geography. Okay, so what's going on? To answer this question, we have to go all the way back in time, boys. All the way back. Let's go back to the original sin of mankind. Adam and Chava, the fruit, the forbidden fruit, which was not what? It was not an apple. Yeah, it was not an apple. You know where the apple business came from? Huh? Came from the Christian Bible. Where did they get it from? So apparently, I heard this from Rabbi Becher, apparently in Europe, the apple had not made its way to Europe yet. I don't know where the apple started from, but it had. When the apple eventually, the King James Bible refers to the first fruit as the magnificent fruit. He just calls it the magnificent fruit. And apparently the apple eventually made it to Europe. When people ate the apple, they started saying, wow, this is a magnificent fruit. So they made a Gzera Shava. They said, magnificent fruit, magnificent fruit. They made a Gzera Shava, decided that the original magnificent fruit was the apple. Then Hollywood got a hold of it, and then that finished us off, right? So everybody's convinced, whatever else that fruit was, it wasn't an apple. There are 3 opinions in the Gemara and 1 in the Medrash. There's one opinion that it was a grape, because grapes cause all the trouble, because they make wine out of them. There's one opinion that it was fig. There's one opinion that it was a wheat. And there's an opinion in the Medrash that it was an esrog. Right? Wheat. There's wheat before the sin. There's no bread. You didn't grind up wheat. You didn't have a grinder. There were no millstones. You just went to a tree and grabbed the wheat. You grabbed a piece of wheat. Like there are different rolls, like a Kaiser roll tree and a donut tree, a sufganiya tree. Well, that one probably died, right? But you got all the different trees. The wheat, the bread grow on trees. It's only after the curse that man has to work the field and then grind it up till he finally produces the bread. Okay, so therefore, whatever else it was an apple. Now, in the original sin, there are, the Mishnah in Pirkei Avos says, there's a Mishnah in Perek Daled, Mishnah Yud Zayin, says, Hakina v'hataiva v'akavod motziin es ha'adam min ha'olam. Jealousy, kina, taiva, the pursuit of desires, and kavod, the pursuit of honor, take a person out of the world. Hakina v'hataiva v'akavod motziin es ha'adam min ha'olam. And what that means is, when you're jealous, it rankles. You feel it inside. There's a pasuk that says, Rekavat moskina. The pasuk that says, you feel your bones rotting. Bones rot because of jealousy. When you're jealous of somebody, it's almost a physical sensation. It's like, you're getting stabbed with a rusty knife. You're jealous. That's kina. And it takes a person out of the world because a lot of people, for the sake of jealousy, first of all, physically, it eats away at you. And secondly, you'll engage in certain behaviors because you're jealous. You'll overwork yourself to compete with other people. And a person will work himself down, just practically. Taiva is physical desire, obviously could terminate a person's life. And kavod means the pursuit of honor. The pursuit of honor also could easily terminate a person's life. Also, you may overwork yourself. You may engage in activities. For the sake of honor, people climb high buildings or mountains without any sort of harnesses and fall a few hundred meters, which is bad. All sorts of things that happen to people for the sake. Even the President of the United States, I once made a calculation, since 1960, half the presidents of the United States have been shot at. Between 1960 and 2000. After 2000, they ran out of bullets. But before 2000, between 1960 and 2000, half the presidents got shot at. They didn't all get killed, they got shot at. Only one got killed. But that's a dangerous job. Otherwise, you wouldn't need so much security. For the sake of the honor and prestige, you're willing to take a job that you need security and you need bulletproof cars and everything else that goes with it. All for the sake of honor. Most accountants don't get shot at. Right? Most accountants, 50% of accountants haven't gotten shot at. Maybe 50% of lawyers, not accountants. Right? So when you have, what do you call it? You have the kina, taiva, and kavod are the three cardinal. Every avera a person does, every sin, every misdeed is going to have one or more of these factors involved. Think about any misdeed. It will have either jealousy, it's the result, the motivator behind it is going to be either and or jealousy, the pursuit of honor, the pursuit of desire, or the pursuit of honor. The first sin, and that's why the Mishnah says, by the way, Akina v'atayva kod motzinas ha'adam mina olam. Adam, according to some of the commentaries over there, refers to Adam Harishon. That's what took him out of the world. Now, in the original sin, all three factors were there. Number one, Chava ate the fruit because it's described as being ta'ava hula einaim. The word ta'ava is right there. It was very desirous fruit. So for the first thing that got her eating it is because of desire. And then she gave it to her husband. Why?
Misery loves company.
Misery loves company. You're close. She was jealous. What was she? Rashi says, why'd she give it him to eat? She was worried that she would die and he would marry somebody else. See what you guys got to look forward to? Hold for 1 second. Just hold for a while, because I'm going to go through a whole. She was jealous. She was worried she would die and he would marry somebody else. Somebody once asked me, where would he find another wife? Well, he's got 10 more ribs. Where that one came from, that's not a problem. But yeah, so she was jealous. So you have desire, you have jealousy, and the temptation of the snake. He speaks to her and he says, eat the fruit, you'll be like God. V'isem kelokim yodei tovra, you'll be like God. That means man has a deep-sighted desire. What does it mean to be like God? I want to be in control. That's honor. So you have jealousy, the pursuit of pleasure, and the pursuit of honor are all involved in the original sin. The job of mankind from that point on becomes, the entire history of the world from that point on, to rectify the original sin. Okay, you're with me so far. Okay, stay with it. The first chance to rectify the original sin is to rectify jealousy. And where is that? Cain and Hevel. And what happens? He fails. First chance. Cain comes from the word kina, by the way, jealousy. His name is Cain. It also comes from the word kinyan, which is acquisition. You acquire because you're jealous of people's acquisitions. Cain and Hevel, they're brothers, and he fails. Nothing like a family feud, right? He fails. Just ask Richard Dawson, right? He fails. Nothing like a family feud. So Cain kills Hevel, strike one. They failed on kina. Now, mankind has a chance to rectify desire. You go to the generation of the flood, what was their avera? Complete out of control immorality, complete immorality. Strike two. One more chance, kavod, which is the generation of the Tower of Babel. What does the Torah say? What was their goal in building the tower? Na'aseh lanu shem, we'll make a name for ourselves, which is obviously kavod. Strike 3, mankind is out. So the job now, which mankind was supposed to be engaging in, is now taken, and it's given to one group of people, which is who? The Jewish people. Oh, so who do we come to? The first one is Avram Avinu. What's the midah that we associate with Avram Avinu? Kindness. Chesed. Chesed is the polar opposite of what? Jealousy. Jealousy means resentment of other people. And chesed is concern for other people. So Avram Avinu represents the rectification of kina. Taiva is desire. How do we rectify desire? There's only one way to get control over our desires, which is what? Studying Torah. Studying Torah. Barasi lo yetzer hara, barasi lo Torah tavlin. Torah is the antidote to desire. Who represents that? Yaakov. Yaakov is Torah. And Yitzchak is what? What you call gevura, we call avoda. Right? Serving God. You know, like if you're willing to get shechted, by the way, you go up on a mizbeach and your father's shech, that's a pretty high form of devotion. When you stretch your neck out and you get yourself shechted, that's even better than a real korban. Right? Making yourself the korban. That's pretty high level of devotion. That's the opposite of kavod. Why? Because kavod says, I'll do it my way. The ultimate in kavod, the farthest, the extension of kavod is avodah zarah. Avodah zarah means you want me to serve your way, I'll serve my way. I'm in control here. Avodah means total submission to a higher. That's the opposite of kavod. So the Jewish people, Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, represent the rectifications, not in that order, of kina, kavod, and taiva. Right? Kina, kavod, and taiva. Avram Avinu is kina, Yitzchak is kavod, Yaakov is taiva. So the Jewish people are now assigned the role of mankind, which is to rectify those 3 flaws. So far, so good?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, what happens? Amalek comes along. And Amalek is saying, it's a godless world. Well, in a godless world, what do you think is going to dominate in a godless world? In other words, the Jewish people all along, they're going through this kinatai, they're going through chesed, Torah, avoda, and gemilus chasadim, the 3 pillars the world stands on. Torah, avoda, and gemilus chasadim. That's Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. That's the Jewish people. That's Sukkot, Pesach, and Shavuos. Everything, there's a connection all the way through. What does Amalek want to do? Amalek says, come on. Let's stop the nonsense. There's no God. If there's no God, then what dominates? Kina, taiva, and kavod. And then you can become president of the United States. Right? Because you're dominated by your drives, your passions. You're completely out of control. So Amalek attacks the Jewish people. The war over here, gentlemen, is a war of ideology. It's a war of ideology. It's our ideology of Torah, Avodah, Gemilus, Chasadim against Amalek's Kina, Taiva, and Kavod. So Amalek attacks the Jewish people. So what does Moshe Rabbeinu say? Yeshua, you go down and fight them physically. I'm going up on the mountain with me, Aaron, and Hur. Well, guess what? What does Moshe Rabbeinu represent? True. What else does he represent? Moshe is Torah. Moshe brings down the Torah. The Torah even uses there's a pasuk that says, Zichru Toras Moshe. The Torah, Moshe is Torah. He taught the Torah, brought the Torah, and taught the Torah to the Jewish people. What is Aaron? Aaron is Avoda, because he's the Kohen Gadol. There's no bigger Avoda than Aaron. And who's Hur? Rashi points out Hur is the son of, what did Miriam do? She saved babies, right? When they're being tossed, when Paro said to kill the babies, what did Miriam do? She did everything in power to keep them alive. That's a big chesed, by the way. When it keeps people alive is a chesed. So Moshe represents Torah, Aaron is Avoda, Miriam is Gemilus Chasadim, but you're not going to send a woman up on a mountain in full view of all the men. So who's the next best thing? Her son Hur. That's how Hur enters it. So Moshe, Aaron, and Hur go up on the mountain. That is the counter force to Amalek's Kina, Taiva, and Kavod. They have a battle of ideology over here. Okay? Good?
Wow, yes.
No kashas. It's not a Tosfos. Told you that. What? What's difficult? What's difficult? 1 second. What's difficult? No, what's difficult? No, go ahead. I'm just giving you a hard time. What's difficult?
I just didn't see it. Why not Kali?
That's a kasha. He's a husband. That's a son. That's already a okay. All right. Well, okay. Oh, man. I was bad in a previous incarnation. They brought me back here. All right, what can I do? Just kidding. Okay. There's something called, you just got to hear. It's just showing you how everything hangs together. The whole Torah is hanging together. There's no coincidences here. It all comes back to one. It's all moving through without any sort of what it all hangs together. Even the three holidays. You have the first holiday is Pesach. What's Pesach? Pesach is avoda. The Jewish people come out. They have the korbanos. They're serving their commitment to serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu. What's Shavuos? Shavuos is Torah, right? What's Sukkos? Sukkos is where we have three walls. We can see each other. It's Gemilus Chasadim. Each one has the Torah. That theme of Torah, avoda, and Gemilus Chasadim is going to come up constantly, and the theme of Kina, Taiva, and Kavod is going to come up constantly. Every Aveira you could think of, anything that you do, one of those three things is going to be a factor, either Kina, Taiva, or Kavod, and sometimes more than one. If somebody kills somebody out of anger, so your anger is a form of Kavod. Anger is coming from the desire to be in control. It could also be because of Kina. It could also be because of passion. They're all going to be there. They could all be mixed in, but those three are always going to be there. Okay, one other point here. Take a look in Parshas Beshalach. I want to show you one other point here because this is they talk about the thinnest books ever written. You've heard of the thinnest books ever written? Yeah, like one of them is on page 382, Perek Tes Vav Pasuk Vav. The thinnest books, you never heard of the thinnest books ever written, like English cuisine, Italian war heroes, what do you call it, German humor, Jewish business ethics. These are among the thinnest books ever. They talk about a championship sports teams from Cleveland. That sort of thing. So, it's unfortunate, but we think of Jewish business ethics. There are a lot of very frum and very honest businessmen, but unfortunately, there's a stereotype of the conniving, trying to get it. You have to be very careful here, business especially. You have to be very careful about honesty in business and about being meticulous. Somebody just asked me this morning. The guy just asked me this morning that he has he was on Meuchedet. Meuchedet is one of the health insurances in Israel, and he switched from Meuchedet to Maccabi. But he needs a certain medication, and he still got the Meuchedet card. Can he swipe the Meuchedet card to buy the medication, for what he called? I said to the guy, first of all, the card's not going to work once they have computerized it. You switched over to the other. I said, but even so, even if it does work, for a nickel, for 5 cents, you want to go to Gehenna? You're stealing. I mean, if you're already going to get ahead of for stealing, man, rob a bank. And don't go to Gehenna for 5 cents or for 5 shekels. That's what, to save 5 shekels, you're willing to tamper with your eternity? You want to burn for 5 shekels? So if it was a couple $100,000, all right, we'll pay off the fire to be extinguished, But if it's, for 5 shekels, that's what you want to go to Gehenna for? What, are you out of your mind? So we have to know that when we'll see in Parshas Yisro also where Yisro relates to the different questions that the Jewish people could ask. Yisro relates to in terms of big monetary, what do you call the issues versus small monetary issues. Torah doesn't look. Torah says din pruta kidin me'amana. A case involving 1 pruta is like a case involving $100. There's no monetary. You steal a pruta, you're doing an avera. So I told the guy, for that you wanna go kitzel around. You wanna risk it. It's very, very important. So listen to this. Take a look at Pasuk on page 382. 3 lines from the top. This is backtracking a little bit. But the Torah says, I want to read you I want to tell you a couple of midrashim here. Vayomer im shamoah tishma lekol Hashem Elokecha. If you obey Hashem your God, v'hayoshar be'einav tasa. You do what's right in His eyes. You do what's right in Hashem's eyes. Ve'azanta lemitzvosov, and you keep His mitzvahs. V'shemarta kol chukav, and you keep His statutes. Kol hamachala asher sante b'mitzrayim lo asim alecha. Any of the plagues that I brought in Egypt, I will not bring upon you. So the commentaries point out over here that ki ha'yashar, what does yashar mean? V'ha'yashar be'einav tasa. You do what's straight. We even talk about people. This guy's straight. Well, a guy who's not straight. What do we call him? In business, a guy who's not honest. What do we call him? Why we call him crooked, not dishonest. Why do we call him? He's a crook? He's crooked. Why? Because you're either straight or you're crooked. You're either straight or you're crooked. So there's a medrash that says like this. The Mechilta says that this pasuk is talking about business dealings. That Hayashar Beinav, the plain meaning over here is there. There are other interpretations. The Mechilta, which is the medrash on Shemos, says this pasuk is talking about business dealings. And in business dealings, you have in the Gemara and in the Midrashim, you have I want to give you a couple of examples. One of the classics of the Gemara, there's the Gemara in Makos says that Rav Safra was once, he had something to sell. So somebody offered him 5 zuz or whatever it was, and he said no. Then the guy came back later, and Rav Safra was in the middle of, and again he asked Rav Safra for 5. Rav Safra was in the middle of saying Kriya Shema. So he couldn't answer. So the guy said, I'll give you 5 for it. He wouldn't answer. So the guy said, okay, I'll give you 10. When Rav Safra finished Kriya Shema, he said, while I was saying Kriya Shema and you made the offer, I had made up my mind, I'll sell it for 5. So that's all I'm going to take from you is the 5 that I made my mind up, not the 10 that you offered me. Now, he never agreed to the deal. He never said anything. He never even indicated anything. The guy interpreted him a certain way. How many people would do something like that? How many people, if the guy upped the offer without telling you about it, how many people would be willing to say, no, I had made up my mind to take the lower price? So Rav Safra gives us an example. Now, it's not a halacha, but we're talking about what's called midas chasidus. We're talking about what you should do. There's certain things in life that even if you should or shouldn't do it. Why? Because you should. That's why. There was a guy, I remember hearing a story about a guy, there was a Jew, very, very uneducated Jew. He was a Shomer Shabbos Jew. And he was like an old time Jew, an old model. This model went out of business, went out of style a while ago. He was living somewhere nice, I think, living in Milwaukee. And he had a son. And his son decided to open up a store. And he opened up the store very close to about across the street from a competitor. So the father says, you don't open a store across the street from the other guy's business. Same business across the street. He said, according to halacha, that's not called masigvul. Masigvul, to encroach, which is forbidden. According to halacha, is over here on the same side of the street. I'm on the other side of the street. His father said, you may not be halachically transgressing, but I'll break your bones if you don't close your store. You don't open a store across. There's something called menschlichkeit. Be a mensch. I had an uncle once, a great uncle, his big Talmid Chacham. He said, don't try to be a tzaddik, just be a mensch. Sometimes people skip the mensch stage and go straight to tzaddik. Very dangerous. Right? Be a mensch, just be a mensch. You don't do something like that. Then there's another one. Shimon ben Shetach. Shimon ben Shetach was on the Sanhedrin. So the Medrash says that Shimon ben Shetach once bought a donkey from an Arab. Aravi, it says. He bought some sort of Arabian. He bought a donkey. So the guy, he sent him the money, he sent him over the donkey. And when the guy sent over the donkey, he forgot somehow there was a diamond on the donkey, some sort of gem that he forgot that was on the donkey. So Shimon ben Shetach gets this donkey, and hey, there's a gem, a priceless, precious, very precious gem. So he tells somebody, take this gem back take it back to the guy. Guy said, I bought the donkey. I obviously wasn't trying to buy the gem. Take the donkey back to him. Take the gem back. So he takes the gem back to the guy. So the guy's reaction was, Baruch brich Elohaho Yehudai. The guy said, blessed is the God of the Jews. Wow, you gave me back my diamond. So Rabbi Yehuda Nasi, remember Rabbi Yehuda Nasi, Rebbe? He said to Shimon and Shetach, why did you do that for? The halacha is, you're not allowed to cheat a guy. But if a guy makes a mistake, so you're allowed, in business, you're allowed to keep the money. If he made a mistake. Can't cheat him. Can't get him to make the mistake. But if he made a mistake, so then the halacha, by the letter of the law, you're allowed to keep it. So Shimon ben Shetach said, to have him say, blessed is the God of the Jews, is worth a lot more to me than all the gems in the world. The Kiddush Hashem of blessed is the God of the Jews is worth a lot more to me than all the what he calls in the world. Let me ask you a question. If I offer you right now, I'll sell you the merits of a Kiddush Hashem. I'll let you make a Kiddush. How much would you pay for it? You get a Kiddush Hashem. You can make a Kiddush Hashem. Would you pay 5 shekels for it? For a Kiddush, you get a Kiddush Hashem. Would you pay 5 shekels for it? Certainly. How about 10 shekels? Yeah, okay. You're in a cab. You're in Israel. And you set a price with the cab driver. Pay you 50 shekels from here to there. Then you hit a traffic jam. And when you get to your location, the cab driver says, it should actually be another 10 shekels because we had a traffic. No, we agreed on 50 shekels. If you pay him 10 shekels, you're making a Kiddush Hashem because you're from Jew. You go, would you do it? Another 10 shekels? Or I'm going to take him down. I'm not going to lose 10 shekels to a cab driver. You understand? You have an opportunity right there for 10 shekels for a Kiddush Hashem. Give the guy 10 shekels. So I got him. Would you do it? Right? We have the opportunities there all the time. People will make an effort. Give the guy the money. What's the problem? You're making a Kiddush Hashem. You're from Jew. Right? So Shimon ben Shetach gives back. He says, to hear him say, Brich Elahon Yehudai, that's worth all the money in the world. That's what he said. How do you like that?